You hold a great amount of inspiration for me as an immersive producer and as someone who has a very deep concept of spatial orchestration and the idea of presenting music to an audience surrounding them. I'm so grateful for the advice and the help at a certain point along the way, getting to share the mixes with you and getting to have you hear it and go into that dialogue.
It was a great pleasure, Jesse.
Thank you.
Should we tell what we did?
I think we should tell what we did. I mean,
yeah. Because at some point in your process, you sent me your mixes.
Yep.
And what I did was basically to just listen to them in my studio. And then we started to talk.
Yeah.
Just kind of a neutral receiving experience. So it was a great experience.
You're describing the ability to sit and listen without expectation.
Yeah.
As a producer, in what you do, and we're talking about this today, the importance of being able to observe passively without expectation so that you can truly identify what's happening.
Yeah.
And there was a few key moments in our dialogue that really helped me to even further augment where I had taken it to, okay, I think this is where my brain and creativity and heart all sort of think that this music has come to life. And then those perspectives around, I mean, specifically one of them, I think the first was around electric bass, which is fascinating because I was the bass player.
Yep.
And you said, like electric bass, it feels a little alone in the center channel. And let's try some decorrelation, getting it to be in the left and wide. So it has a little bit of life into the space. And that was one.
And of course, my reference being recording in a live environment, like churches, concert halls. And we talked a lot about this, whereas it's easy to think that, okay, when you do a puristic microphone technique, you work with acoustic ensembles, it's easy to think that we're down to documenting what's happening in a space.
Right.
It's really not. It's a tool for us as engineers and for the musicians and for composers to actually take, like you call it, a hyper-realistic perspective to it. And I think maybe that was what I was able to contribute to your production, coming from the all acoustic side, whereas you come from a very imaginative standpoint.
Yep.
And I start working with the composers, you are the composer.
Right.
And you are actually doing what I try to make all the other composers do, which is actually to experience immersive audio and start composing with that enveloping environment in mind.
I think of that as the spatial component of the orchestration.
Yeah.
And it is compositional as well in the sense that parts can exist in different places and be conversational or antiphonal, which certainly in the way that you've described, and I would love for you to describe, bringing the composer in, having them experience the music, but then looking at the score and really thinking through, okay, what is the logic? I mean, you said the logic, and it's all about, logic is abstract, but it also, to the individual, it doesn't feel abstract. It doesn't feel abstract to me, and it doesn't feel abstract to you as to why this section will be here, this section will be here.
Yeah. And my point is that we are allowed to, and we should, use our total imagination when creating an three-dimensional musical experience. But we need to enable that from the very beginning.
Yes.
And when I say logic, we are both on the musical side and we're also on our engineering side.
Right.
Because a lot of the experiments I've done is that the more information about spatiality you have, and using a microphone array that gives you both the correct time of arrival from all directions at the same time, correct spectral timbre and fall off in any direction, and also the development in level all through the three-dimensional space.
Right.
It needs to be logical to our brain.
Right.
Because as you can feed it as much information as possible, as long as it's coherent. The moment you introduce contradictional information from a technical point of view and from an acoustical point of view, your brain just goes haywire.
Right.
It literally goes warm.
Yeah, it understands that something's not right.
Yeah.
Because our hearing mechanism in our brain is hyper complex.
Yes.
And very sensitive to what is probably from a survival standpoint of wanting to say something's not right, something is throwing me off.
But within that complexity, as long as you keep that logic, you can do totally, I would say, almost unrealistic movements, but it will still feel, I wouldn't use the term natural, because that brings us back to documentation again.
Yep.
But I will say that it has a musical place that do not disturb your attention.
Yes. Yeah, this is the storytelling part, is the attention is I mean, I see this canvas as the canvas I have wanted to use. I just didn't necessarily always knew that it was there, because compositionally, until you know it's available to you, you don't necessarily use that tool, even if it's a part of how it was feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that's why when I first started hearing music in surround, it's like, oh, this is the feeling, the essence of the feeling of the music. Not the exact music that I'd like to create, but the sensation of the emotional quality, or and it's about envelopment, and the hyperrealism, but also the things feel different behind us. They feel different beside us. They feel different above us. Our psychoacoustic principles, I think one of the things maybe I've learned a lot from having to do these more pop-oriented mixes of so many tracks, is my job is to spatially orient other people's music and to try to find logic. They've presented me a logical blueprint in stereo, and I need to find a logical three-dimensional blueprint of that.
And I think that is also particularly a challenge for the mixers who are hired to do immersive mixes of old classics.
Right.
How do you preserve the intent from the stereo, but still kind of reach that imaginative, so powerful expression without compromising? So what's the feeling and the intent of that stereo? And then you need to loosen up and feel quite free.
Right. And I think it's actually the combination of many things, but from having experienced that challenge so many times, it also helped me understand about my aesthetics, what I like, why I like brass behind me, why I like strings in front of me, why I like percussion above me, like these kinds of personal preferences of orchestration.
But I have a question for you, because as I learned to know you, I realized that you have really no boundaries whatsoever, So how do you handle that immense complexity to your approach? How do you handle that not to limit your musical workflow?
I think that when it comes to music creation for me, what has to happen is that all of the complexities of the various musics I've studied, the musics I've played, the various technical aspects, they have to synthesize down into my being so that I can improvise. I think when I'm writing, I feel best when I'm in an improvisational state, because I'm trying to truly let the music flow. Whenever I write a piece, whenever I finish one, it always started in that state. And it's because in that kind of vulnerable state of improvisation, whether I'm at the piano or a bass or singing or anything, and I'm finding that initial concept that I then unpack with all the various skills, it's that initial idea, if it can come from a place that is quite organic and sort of like what you were describing, where you're silent and you just allow it to happen. I find from there, as long as that initial concept is there, now actually those various skills are required to unpack it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think today, as the world around us is getting more and more complex, the thing is that the complexity is injected so directly into us.
Right.
So I think there's more and more a need for us to have a consciousness about creating a blank canvas.
Right.
Mentally.
Yes.
And technically and musically. And this is basically my technique for listening to new music, new productions, to try to rid myself of all expectations, down to the physiology of relaxing my body and slowing down my breathing to be able to receive. And then start acting and be a part of the creational process.
Yeah. And I think for me, the creation happens best from the point of silence, from that point of, and I think it's something that, despite having a lot on the go, we're busy people. There's a lot of things that pull me, certainly, in a lot of directions at different times.
Yeah.
It's a practice. Silence and stillness is a practice.
Yep.
It's something that we exercise, and composition is a practice. It's a creative muscle that one must engage with. And if I haven't done it for a while, because I'm engineering most of the time, it takes time to rev it up, and a period of time of getting back into what story am I trying to tell. But for me, usually I allow improvisation to show me the kernel, the first idea. And then once I feel like that idea is something that I want to explore, I think of that analogy of a sculptor. It's like that kernel is a block of marble. All I have to do is now remove what needs to be removed until one day it's already there. I just have to go through the process of discovery and effort and time and all of those things. But maybe it is part of my nature or my upbringing or my mentors, but I think there's an unbridled sort of passion that especially came out in this project to just see it through and want to just honor the music, honor the musicians, honor whatever that music was going to become, to try and really explore. Part of that is also, at a certain point, knowing where it's time for teamwork. And that's where coming to you and having the ability to discuss, we talked about the bass and we talked about reverb, we talked about presence of soloists and just general sort of space and those areas. Of course, as a producer, we have to take the responsibility to drive forward, but the teamwork of everybody involved and the ability to have people around you. I mean, I'm just grateful to have that community because it uplifts the entire experience when we can allow, those influences to come in from the right people like yourself.
But it takes a great deal of trust.
Yes.
And you have shown all of us who have been participating in this project a great deal of trust.
Well, I appreciate it.
And also, I don't know if you have thought about it, but almost everything we talked about from that point in your mix was not about adding.
Yes.
It was all about removing.
Yes.
And kind of simplifying.
Yep, this is what happens when also when you let everybody involved, their creativity comes forward. Oh, what about this idea? What about this? Sure, let's track that. At a certain point, you're looking at a Pollock painting, which can be awesome, and I do love it. But you have to decide, how dense should this be for the real storyline to come through? And so I think that's maybe where that sculpting thing of carving away, you work with the composer, you get it ready, you set up the microphones in the place, and then everyone is there live. And when that record is done,
it
is done.
Yeah.
And that is, it is the other sort of the yin and the yang of approaches, and it's not, they both have their charms, but there's the mental preparation for the you were describing, like you already know the sound that you sort of sit with it and find that sound that you're looking for. But then to get there and just get it on the day is also, again, the trust, the full trust in the space, in the musicians, in the technology, all of it delivering in that one time is also.
And at some point, like a composer, you have made, you're very much like an architect. You have created the form. Mm-hmm. You have created the kind of the structure of it. But I think at the day when you're there with the musicians and with your microphones, you have to have a little bit of that approach where, okay, what happens.
Right. Well, this is beautiful. Thank you. And
thank you, Justin.
What a pleasure.